Howdy folks, Doc here with Last Best Tool, and I did a video a bit ago about the 4-inch or 100mm sized adjustable wrench or crescent wrench as kind of an EDC size. You know, you can do quite a bit with it, but it's not necessarily the one you grab. So this is more video about which one would you grab, and often I do. I grab one of them. And it can be two different levels. It has to do with whether I have a choice of them or if I'm just going to put one in a toolbox, and then that would be the only one I could grab. Now these things go by a lot of different names: adjustable wrench, adjustable spanner, English wrench, etc. Plus some polite names and some impolite names. And I think a few of them are kind of funny because they sound like bird names, like the Swedish knuckle buster or the chrome-plated nut rounder or something. Or, you know, reminds me of that famous bird that you see around a lot of construction sites. It hangs out, you know, with the workers. It's called the bare-chested nut scratcher. But anyway, back to these. Imagine you have one, and that's it. Now they come in different sizes. They're usually standardized sizes from a 4-inch to a 6-inch to an 8-inch to a 10-inch to a 12-inch to a 15 to an 18. But usually what I found is I'm often grabbing either the 8 or the 6. If I have a choice, I often grab the 6. If I'm going to put one in a toolbox or you know, a car kit or something like that, I usually put an 8 in there. Now before I go on, I wanted to mention something that as I was reading about these, you know, there is directionality. There is a strength and a weakness inherent in this, what they call a worm-on-rack design, kind of the ability to quickly adjust something but then not have that the adjustment change because of the design of the worm-on-the-rack gearing system. But if you look at this piece here, the movable piece, it's more in line with the handle, whereas the rigid one, or essentially the strongest one, is further out. And that's a deliberate design because most of your work is going to be kind of in this area right here. In that area, with that head, or this side of the wrench, aligned with the handle, you really can't generate a lot of leverage compared to, you know, moving the lever arm off to the side. So that's really what's going on here. If there are variations in the design, or if you have a design, you know, that really allows that if you look at that, it's pretty crazy, allows this side looser, weaker jaw to move further off the alignment of the handle, you can generate a lot of force and you could snap something off. Now this is an alloy one. It's designed for, you know, low torque plastic fittings mostly, but that is something to think about. So if you want a large adjustable wrench that is very strong, like this one, and they do get inherently more weak the greater the jaw. So as the jaw opens, you can see now I've put probably about the same amount of stress on both the fixed and the movable point. But if you want just a really strong one, something like the snap-on here, you can see I haven't allowed much movement off of the center line, but then this one doesn't really go very far off the center line either. So the capacity is reduced, but the strength is there. So it's a very strong tool, which is one of the reasons I like that one. But going back to the size, we've got primarily 8-inch and 6-inch. Now small tool kits, I'll always put a 6-inch there. In fact, I like to put maybe a wide 6-inch. This has been one of my favorites. It's appeared in quite a few videos. Just a good solid design. This snap-on, this one's made in Spain, Baco probably. And if I'm building out something little, and room and weight is not an issue, I will usually grab an 8-inch. So the question is, what do you use? What, you know, if you can only have one, or if you're putting it in a case where you only have one adjustable wrench, what size do you throw in there? And the reason I said that if I have a choice, if they're all sitting in front of me, I often grab this, is because this is a good hand size, yet it often opens up plenty for the size fasteners that I'm using. So it's just a really quick, nimble, small-framed wrench. So a 6-inch is actually my go-to unless I need a larger one, and I have larger ones available. But I always err on a little bit safer side with an 8-inch if I'm putting together a kit. I rarely put anything much larger, although I do see lots of toolboxes with with 10 or 12-inch adjustable wrenches. And I think the thinking is you can go down to 0. So basically, the idea is any size you go to, if you go from, whatever, you can start at 0 up to the maximum. Most of the time, though, you don't really need that maximum because a lot of the fasteners we work with are smaller. But if you do need something large for whatever reason, well, then that's where this might come into play. But you also have a much bigger, heavier tool as well, and it doesn't fit into some of the smaller places, and that's often where an adjustable wrench really shines, is the ability to get into a location and adjust to it blindly. We've talked about that compared to pliers or plier wrenches, and be able to use the wrench, whereas the bigger, the less accessible. But anyway, tell me what your thoughts are. Which one would you grab if you had them both sitting in front of you, or all of them sitting in front of you, or if you were putting together a kit and you just wanted one size and that was kind of it. That was your do-it-all. It's going to be a hammer. It's going to be a pry bar. These things have been around since the 1800s, early 1800s actually, but more refined in the late 1800s. And there are some, I think, Rivera makes one with actually a hammer on the end of it. I think there's one with a socket. There are two-handled sizes that look like that. I'd love to find one, a large and a small. And then they go up to massive size, 4 or 5 feet long. But there it is, the question of the day. If you could have any, which one would you take? And with that, Doc out.